Welcome to the Growth Engine. I'm Luke, that's Glenn, and on this podcast, we're going to talk about starting a business. So where do we start?
That's a really good question, right? Where do we start? I actually think that it generally starts with an idea, but I actually think these days, Luke, like anyone can have an online business. They can target the world. There's no barriers. And so, I think the first place to start is to sell something. So what are we going to start selling? And I think a really good place to start is actually with your new business with Glamp and how that actually kicked off and kicked into gear.
Well, that was through a pain that we were having when we were going camping in our caravan. And I think that's a really important place for people to start. There are some things in your life that are just not horrible, but just really niggly to deal with.
Yeah.
And generally you find some way of working around it. And sometimes that thing is something that you've cobbled together out of other products or something like that. And I think that's a great mindset to start with. If you've got a pain, then other people have it. And if you've got a solution, then other people will need it too. And that's where the Glamp sort of came from, was the story I like to tell, which is a little bit longer than this. But basically, I was up in one of the top bunks in the caravan making the bed, putting the bed together for the girls. No, they're pretty good at making their beds. They're not great, but they do make their beds. But basically what happened is I got stuck up there. I got a cramp in my calf. And it just...
I did not know that story.
Yeah. And I was like, I hate bunks. Like, why? Why do we have to have them? And why am I stuck up here? I was an idiot getting up here in the first place. And it sort of started from there. I think it started from there. But it was an ongoing problem. That was just the real pain that hit me anyway.
So for reference, where are these bunks? Are they in a camper van or in a caravan?
In a caravan, and they're tiny. So they're 750 mil wide. So they're like 2.5 foot or something like that wide, and they're 1,800 long. So for reference, I'm 6'1", 185 centimeters. I just fit lying down in these. And there's about, I'd say 600 mil at the most of headroom. So you're up in like a little box effectively. And if you get stuck, you're stuck, because no one can lift me down, because you kind of, it's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
So from that, what happened is Amanda had this idea. Now, her idea stemmed from her mum, who they had a caravan as a kid, a pop top, Jayco, and her mum had made these like a bedding system that zipped in, the duvet zipped in, so it was like a sleeping bag but a fitted sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what Glamp all-in-one bedding is. It's like a sleeping bag with a fitted sheet. So we made this, and what it did for me, making the beds in the future, was meant I could take the mattress out, because the mattress is just foam, it's super light, and I could make it on the kitchen table of the caravan and then just hoof it back up in there, and I didn't have to get in and out. So that was where it became great for me.
Yep.
And it's cool for the kids because they can just zip it up. But that's where it fixed the problem that I had. And where that led from there is, when you're camping, you're sociable, you meet people. And we met this couple who were an older couple who wanted to take their grandkids away. But they have a bunk caravan the same as ours. And they were like, well, we hate making the bunks because, they're older, they're not as nimble, they can't get up in there. Like, oh, well, we've got, this thing is just what we've made. And the lady was like, well, I'll take 3 of them. We were like, well, they were really expensive to put together, like buying the material, and the zips were ridiculous from trying to source them in New Zealand. And so we were like, well, how much would you pay for them? Well, she said, well, how much would you charge? And we're like, well, like $250 a bed. Like, done. Make me 3. Like, holy hell, that seems like a lot of money. And that was honestly how much it would cost to make a single one, like just buying the stuff from the local Spotlight.
Yep.
But that was the start of it, where, okay, people are willing to pay for it. And when you think about it, like RVing or caravanning, people have paid like big money for these boxes on wheels. So they've got money to spend.
Yep.
So they're quite happy to buy things that make their camping experience better.
Mm.
And that's how the Glamp bedding evolved. And once we'd sort of sorted that out of, okay, people are going to pay for it and pay decent money for it, how do we make this work? And that's just how your business starts to roll.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've had the idea, once you've found the pain, found the solution, and sold it to somebody who's not you, could be family, could be friends, doesn't really matter. That's when you start thinking, okay, how do I make this business work and make it effective?
So it's an interesting way, like to me, yeah, that pain solution, and then you sold that solution, right? Like there's so many problems out there that need solving. So from a different point of view, from a service point of view, you can sell services as well. So Spike, email marketing services. And so what happened was when I discovered email marketing, I discovered a way where someone could stay top of mind with hundreds, if not thousands of people and go about their day-to-day business. And that blew me away, right? And so when you're looking at a service business, there's going to be something that annoys you that you're just like, oh man, like even if it's just, figuring what to have for dinner. I'm not talking about Uber Eats here. We're talking about, is there a way where the food you need for dinner that night? And yes, and this is how like HelloFresh and things like that come up. Someone has an idea of like, oh, how do I put this together? And then off we go. So to me, there's so much opportunity out there. And I don't think that anyone could get away with saying, oh, I'm not in a position to be able to start a business, because everyone has either a unique thing that they can do or something they can do better than other people and sell it as a service. And then there might be this thing that they've invented, or this thing like you guys have with Glamp, that they can then productize and sell to someone. Because, my dad used to tell me nothing happens without a sale. So the fact that like you were able to sell it to somebody and they were happy to pay the price, you've got a market. You're like, if there's one person who buys 3, then man, there's going to be a lot of people out there. And I know that there's lots of things you can find on Amazon and drop shipping and things like that you could actually kickstart a business off with something like that. But I find that businesses that like are going to be in it for the long haul and have more value if you ever decide to sell are ones that solve a unique problem, or you solve it in a unique way that you can sell at a really good markup.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the margin's always important, which
Very.
I've definitely made mistakes with Glamp and margins, but that's another podcast. But I think the thing to think about when you're starting is, yes, you can go and follow all the online, make money online things with drop shipping and social media marketing agencies and all that sort of stuff. But if you're not solving a problem that you've had and that you can speak to in your marketing,
Yeah.
you're really going to struggle for longevity. You'll always be able to arbitrage by buying something for cheap and selling it in your market for a markup. But I think if you want a business to sustain you for the long run, then it's always going to stem from a problem that you've had. That problem might evolve over time. It will definitely become less if you've solved it, but it will allow you to be in it for longer. And I think a service business is the same. Like, man, you've been email marketing for like 23 years,
Yeah.
22 years.
22 years.
Like,
and I still have the same conversations today that I had all that time ago. And I find that ridiculous. But New Zealand, we're in New Zealand. New Zealand is a country of small businesses. Last time I checked, and I know you've done this as well. Last time I checked, there was 374,000 registered businesses or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's just limited liability companies,
yes.
not including sole traders,
Oh, that's
all
right.
that sort of stuff. So
We love
it's
small
easily
businesses.
double that, if not triple.
Yeah, but
So,
nowadays we can actually, by using platforms like Gumroad, for example, or Facebook Marketplace, or TradeMe. In New Zealand, TradeMe is unique. Others have tried to come in here, and TradeMe just has it nailed. If you're overseas, you've got eBay, Craigslist. You've got these places, and I think Gumroad is actually a good place to start for many people because there's no fees from what I understand. But, looking for things that you like that you can sell. I met a woman once who sells leather goods, handmade leather goods. Now, she doesn't make that many of them, but she set up, I think, there's a New Zealand version of Etsy. And, as soon as she makes a bunch of them, they sell out really, really quickly because she's on the right platform to sell those things. So it started off as a hobby where she would just get offcuts of leather and she was teaching herself how to make these things. And now she's got these really cool products and, she sells them regularly now. And in fact, since I think she's finished her job now, she's kind of retired, but she's now making all this extra cash out of, what is just offcuts of leather that she turns into something unique. That she is just a hobby. So I think if you're, trying to start a business, you have to think like I think what you said before about what you're interested in, that is the key thing, because like you told a really good story about how Glamp started. I've got a story about how Spike started, and that has evolved over time as well. But the basics are what I said. And the thing is that to be able to tell a really good story, you have to be passionate about it. Because if it's just some dongle or it's a pen, or it's something like, you're not going to be that passionate about it. And at the start, it's only you. And so, you have to know everything about this pen, like and like Grant Cardone does this really interesting thing where he says, right, tells his audience, sell me my pen. Sell me this pen. And the thing is basically it comes down to, do you need a pen? Yes, I do. Great. I've got one here for you for $10. So it's, there will be people out there. There's markets you can go to if you want some ideas. There's plenty of places that you can go to and get some really good ideas and start a business today. Because I have this in the back of my mind, Luke, that there's people out there who are potentially in a situation and are so down on themselves, they don't think they can do this. Like they're like, oh, starting a business isn't for me. And look, if that is you, and you don't want to start one, and you've got legitimate reasons, what are those reasons? Like you might say, well, I'm busy with kids. So we've both got kids. Our wives, also, yeah, both our wives work. Like they've got businesses or, and so I think that we're very typical of people who want to start a business or can start a business, but actually are just afraid of doing it because you've built all these barriers and stuff in your way. And I think you can just get through that. It might take some time, and you need to listen to us, but listen to people that are going to support you, because there's going to be your close friends and family are probably going to be not your best supporters, to be honest, because they're like, why would you want to start a business? You've got a good job, or you've got this, or you're busy. But if you've got that burning desire,
there's always detractors and there's always supporters in everybody's life.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to come back a little bit to the passion piece. I don't always believe that you need to have passion in the business to make it work. I think
Interesting.
the most important thing you need to have is pain, because pain continues where passion wanes. So like if you
I
can
like that. I like
you
that.
can dial into pain and you have a solution for it, you'll find it much easier to continue because you'll always feel that pain. The passion will come and go, like it definitely comes and goes, but you always know that there's a pain. And I think that's an important thing, because passion can sometimes be a hurdle for people. Like it can be a reason why they don't start. I'm just not that interested in it. Sure, you're not, but it hurts. If it hurts enough for you to fix it, then it's going to hurt someone else enough, and you'll get joy from helping those people out. And that's where your passion can build.
Mm.
But if we come back to the other roadblocks that people have when starting a business, if you're coming from a position where you've never started a business before, you've never tried, you've always worked for somebody, and you feel like you don't have time, all those things are valid reasons not to start. But the only way to start is to start smaller and to start knocking off those things. It's like the cliche of how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time. If you're finding that you don't have time during the week because you've got your family and that sort of thing, I guarantee that there's a show that you watch, just one show on wherever, that's probably pretty crap, and you just watch it because it's there. You're not really that interested in it, it just continues on. So is that half an hour a week, an hour a week that you could just stop and read something or do some research on a product or that sort of thing? And if you did that for a month, 6 weeks, could you, and you were consistent, could you find another hour on another day to continue that and slowly build your way up? It's, I think business is 100% like going to the gym and working out. Like Glenn and I are somewhere between a novice gym goer and a bodybuilder. I think everybody is. And from a business perspective, we're probably gym goers who go 5 days a week, like pretty consistently. We're not bodybuilders because we're not, we're not super successful $100 million businesses that we run, but we're also not the beginner who's just starting at the gym.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at yourself as someone who's just starting to work out and starting your business, and over time, the more reps you put in, the more nutrition you pay attention to and all that sort of stuff, you'll get more and more comfortable as you grow into having a business or having something else other than your job, because you'll start to find more time to go and do these things.
Yeah.
God forbid, because I don't do this, waking up earlier and taking extra time.
That's
like
true.
that's my hell right there. That's what I work not to do. But that's, there is time in the mornings where you can take an hour or something and just work on it. You'll over time, and as you get better at it, better at everything that surrounds an idea, that creating an idea and turning it into a business, it'll become easier. That's where the Glamp part of the story was easy, because subconsciously we're always thinking about how do we turn this into a business. So when someone came to us and said, I want to buy it, we could have an answer straight away. Like I was able to go, well, there'd be $250 each, because I was like, well, I know how much it costs. If she says no, it's too expensive, well, then that's a good data point. But all these things were in the back of my head. It wasn't at the forefront, but because we've done the reps before, when it was a thing which I could just come out with straight away.
I think
Whereas if I'd never done that, it would have been really hard to say $250 for 3 times 750. Like it would have been quite difficult. But because of the reps, I was just able to go, well, this is what it is. Because also you get used to not holding on to things like that. If the idea isn't good enough that someone wants to pay for it and pay you enough for the idea to actually make money, then you need to let that go and find something else.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it's interesting, like the problem solving, we're going to talk about, there's lots of problems to solve, which is, I mean, I like problems to solve. So, in fact, my Monday motivator this week was about problem solving equals more success. So the more problems you solve, the more success you get. But I like this idea of reps. So Benjamin Franklin talked about compounding interest being the eighth wonder of the world. Now,
Yeah.
the thing is that if you're doing half an hour a week of reading, half an hour a week of research, or you go to an hour a week, by the time you've got through the year, if you only did that, you got to remember that's 52 hours that you've put into something, right? That is a lot of research. That's more than what some courses would be doing online or at school. So you've got to think about, start small, but over time it's going to add up and compound, because every time you're learning something new, you're actually compounding your knowledge. So you'll get to know more and more and more. And I think one thing, I'd like to say is like, you start small, but also business is fun. Like, I think a lot of people have hang-ups around business and around money, and that's probably just from how they've been brought up or jobs that they've had, and these kind of experiences. But I like solving problems. I think a lot of humans like solving problems, and so that's actually fun. And the bigger the problem you can solve, you can bet no one else. There's other people who don't want to solve that problem. So, like,
Exactly. Yeah.
up until now, no one appears to have solved the problem of bedding in camper vans, right? So, like, that's a unique idea. The fact that you can take it off. So it's like, if you if you're going to start a business, and we'd like you to, because it's great, is that you could just find out what's really annoying in your life, and like you haven't really found a good solution to, and then even before you even make it, just go and talk to some people and go, hey, I've got this idea, like, what if I could do this? And then you could just talk to a couple of people, maybe choose some people who are supportive of you, although maybe one or two detractors could be interesting as well, because it's like the naysayers will always tell you every reason why you can't do something. And out of that is actually going to come some ideas about, actually, if I did it like this, then that solves that problem. So, listen to both. And then it's like, okay, well, where do I go and find all this stuff? And I think as we go through the future episodes about like sourcing stuff from China, getting stuff made locally, maybe using your mother-in-law's sewing machine, like all of that kind of stuff. For me, it was with a service business, was I had to go out and sell an idea of a weekly newsletter to real estate agents. That's where I cut my teeth, right? And I think because my idea behind that was that they could continue to list and sell, but in the meantime, they're staying top of mind. And this is the great thing about email marketing, is that email marketing keeps you top of mind and it prompts an action. And so I just think it's such a good tool for people, right? And so
email is the number one thing that every business should be utilizing. And our other business, Little Ones, we definitely live by the mantra of send more email. I think we send 6 emails a week to 250,000 people, and we get sales off it. Now,
of course you do.
Glenn's not that hot on that frequency, but it is a bit much, and we're actually reviewing it at the moment. But Glamp, we send, I'd like to say, a weekly newsletter email, but over the last 2 weeks I've fallen off that. But it's because we haven't created a system that keeps that running. But when we send sales emails, we make money.
Can I
And
just pause you there? You just said something. You said something interesting. You said a system, right? And I
yeah,
think like when you're thinking about business ideas, don't just think about products and services, but a system. Like people like Justin Welsh and some of these other like content creators have built massive businesses off systems. So
mm,
teaching people a system of doing something, like if you're in your job and you have a really good way of getting reports out every month, there's a system that you're using that you could sell for $100 on Gumroad.
exactly. Yeah.
So it's you've really got to think outside the box, literally, about what you could actually do. And I'm glad you said that actually, because it's not just products and services. I think products, services, and systems or solutions. Like I bet you so many people haven't even thought about that. There is something that they do to get their emails out on time. There's something that they do to get their social posts out on time. There's something they do to create a monthly dashboard or report for work in Excel that they're the
Mm,
only person in their company who knows how to do.
yeah.
That is one video plus a worksheet. That's a $50 course. Did you see the balloons?
Yeah, I did. Where did they come from?
So, I saw this on Tour Life podcast, which is a disc golf podcast. And if you go like this or this or something, things turn up. And I thought that was hilarious. And I can't believe it's happened on our one. But anyway, I think that's really funny. But look, I think like if we're going to wrap this one up now, the things is we've got, in future episodes, we're going to go through a lot more of these. But, start small. I think products, services, systems. There's some businesses in there, and also, the first thing you've always got to sell something, and keep it really simple to start with, and test your demand. So, have you got anything to add to that, Luke, before we sign off?
I think don't get hung up on your first idea either.
Good point.
There is you need to be able to let ideas come to you, but also let them go at the same sort of frequency, because it might be the thing that holds you up. So continually trying to learn and do some reps is the baseline, and we'll definitely get into what that looks like over time in future podcasts.
Yep.
But then test ideas, test them out, talk to people. I think I want to touch on just the conversations that you might have with people who you go and test it with. Talk about the pain first. Don't talk about the solution. Ask them if they have the same problem that you have, because that'll start a more positive conversation. And you might say, well, I have this pain. Do you have that? They say, yeah, I do. Like that really bugs me. Well, this is the way that I solve it. Does that sound like something you could use? And they might go, well, it could fit in this situation, but it might not fit in this situation. And that allows you to iterate on that idea. But they might also say, no, that won't work for me. And that's when you can ask how and why. Or they might just go, yeah, that's great. And you go, well, would you pay $50 for it? And that's the conversation, because that's leading from a place of, I have this problem, do you? Rather than, I'm thinking about creating a business. Because I think people will automatically go, oh, you can't do that if they're a detractor. But that's not what you're asking them, because you're already doing that. It just might not be this problem that you're solving. But you want to solve this problem. So come at it from that angle first.
Yep.
And then, just do the reps over time, and you'll find something shakes out of it.
Excellent. Well, look, I'm going to wrap it up there for us. Because I think we've got some good points there. And thank you for joining the Growth Engine today. Coming up in the next episode, we're going to start to talk about some of these problem solving and other issues that we have. Actually, I think what I'll do there is probably say that again.
Yeah.
But actually, coming up in our next episode, because you could cut that in. What are we gonna?
Yeah.
What was our episode 2? We've actually got one.
You've sold some stuff, but you haven't made any money.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. I'll say that. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Coming up in our next episode, we're going to be talking about you've sold some stuff. What next?
Perfect.
So I've actually done some clips in here because I realized that